situation that I felt very unloved in. And sadly, that was what I did, you know. When I bottled up everything, it was very unhealthy for me, and it did a lot of damage to me as a person. So as a child, when I was like 12, 13 years old, I started to rebel. So I got into wrong company and I started smoking when I was 12. I started to sniff glue and got into, you know, all sorts of vices. And I, of course, ran away from home, you know, multiple times. And the last time that I ran away from home, I was 14 years old and I didn't see my family for 1 year. So I ran away to Malaysia, right? And with nothing, you know, on me, I only had 15 ringgit at that point. I ran away. So for the first few days, you know, I stayed in playgrounds, you know, I didn't eat much, you know, and I struggled through, you know, my life and everything. So naturally, of course, when I was out there, I got to know a group of syndicate. So these people, they were not your usual Abings and aliens, you know, in Singapore that I knew of, you know, at that point. They were people who owned businesses like discotheques. You know, they ran illegal DVD, VCD, you know, businesses and everything. Fake ICs, passports, you know, you name it. And also, they ran prostitution rings. So they were into drugs as well. So at the age of 14, I was child trafficked. And for about a year, I was out there. And a lot of times, I went through, you know, I would say that they, of course, we were under their control 24/7. We were given all the drugs that we wanted, you know, to keep us under their care. We were given all the drugs that we wanted, and basically I was like, you know, under their control. So come fast forward about a year, 10 months, a year later, I was caught by the police. So that was where I was sent back to Singapore. And I wish to say that my darkness ended there, but it kind of, you know, didn't. Because now without all the drugs, you know, and all the things to numb me, you know, and my pain, I had to stare at the, you know, hard truths of what I went through, of the abuse, you know, of the shame, and the weight of my wrong decision, right? So I went through depression, severe depression. When I came back, I wanted to take my life a few times, and thankfully I did not succeed. But it was a very painful journey moving back, you know, up. But of course for me, when I was about 15, 16 years old, I found faith in my God. And that was really one of the, you know, breakthrough points in my life. And I started to want to turn my life around. And I'm now 37. It has taken me many, many years, you know, many years of work, you know, to get back to where I am today. But I always say that it was a journey that was necessary for me to go through, you know, and good or bad, it made me into who I am today. So for many years, I had to build back my relationship with my mom, the person who I hated with my whole heart, you know, the person who I resented a lot, you know, for my childhood, you know, and the unhappiness that she caused. I had to deal with, like I say, a lot of the shame, of the abuse, of how men, you know, would treat me, my view of men, you know, and thankfully, when I was about 21, 22 years old, I met my husband, and at 22, I got married, you know, and he's a pastor. And I was his first girlfriend, you know, and yeah, so our lives are the polar opposites, but God had his plan, you know, and I'm thankful at how things have worked out. And so after 11 years, you know, we finally had our first child, Axel. And yeah, so the thing is that when we talk about walking out of darkness, I think there was one memorable incident that I realized I kept going back to throughout my journey of trying to walk into the light. It was this point when I came back to Singapore at about 15, 16 years old, months after I came back to Singapore, I received a phone call. Now, you must understand, when I receive phone calls, there's a fear that comes with it. Because when I was younger, my mom was controlling and she would kind of listen on the other side of my conversation when I'm talking to my friends, if they ever called. So I would be very fearful as a 10-year-old, 11-year-old girl, whether whatever kind of talks or whatever friend would call, and I knew my mom would be listening in. So fast forward, when this phone call came, that same fear came, and I don't know was that why it made it so memorable, but it was a call from one of the girls who was victimized and who was in that situation in my past. So she called me and she said that, hey, I don't even know how she got my number because I can't even remember my own family number, but she said, look, do you want me to send somebody to get you back? And